screen and we'll make a start with the presentation. Okay, so I think we've got everything there. Just moving my cup of tea, bear with me. Okay everyone, so just a very brief overview of the scheme to start with. I'm not going to read everything from the slides, I'll let you have a skim through, but the scheme was introduced by government to help young people and particularly those on universal credit. It is fully funded by the government for 25 hours a week. And there is also a £1,500 placement grant available, as it says there, for setup costs and support and training. That is something that we're going to come back to later further through the slides. One of the things I did want to mention here at the start, because it is a query that we're getting quite a bit, is that why did government introduce the scheme some months ago and now we're still going through the process? And unfortunately the answer to that is sometimes these things do take a while. Government did introduce it and I think there was quite a bit of press and PR about it because it was a great thing to do to help young people and to help employers. But I guess it's fair to say that there are some of us on the ground that are then still frantically trying to work on the detail, including ourselves and DWP. So I think my point at the start is please bear with us, because the scheme wasn't fully all not costed out but detailed out at the start. We're working on it, and as it says there, the guidance is changing on a weekly basis. The other point to raise there, I think, is the first placements weren't due to start until November, so we are still okay time-wise at the moment. So basically how to apply, and you might have heard this, it really does depend on whether you've got more or less than 30 placements. I'm not sure where the 30 magic number came from, but something that government decided would happen, that if you want to apply for more than 30 placements, you can apply yourselves direct through the Gov website. If you have less than 30 placements, then you need to apply through a gateway organisation. And the Chamber is one of those gateway organisations. There are others, you can look them up on .gov.uk, but obviously we're focusing on our scheme today. So the 30 placements there we've talked about, and the gateway organisation, so that's us, the Chamber, will capture information about your business, the number of places and the types of role that they will be. We'll also look to ask some qualifying questions because the government have put in place some criteria of eligibility that you'll need to go through before you're accepted on the programme. And the next couple of slides really go through, I don't know how much of the detail you can see of that, but they go through some of the questions that you'll be asked. So if you can see that detail there, it's things like confirming that the placement is for 6 months because it's a set time period, that it's at least 25 hours a week. Other things there about that you will be paying minimum wage, for example. So all of almost the criteria for the scheme you will need to be qualifying to us, and we will qualify to government. I think there's another couple of examples here. What type of roles you will need to start thinking about a job description and some tasks that you'll be asking the young person to carry out. And also a key one there, that it doesn't replace any planned or existing vacancies. So these are supposed to be new placements for the young person. So you can see there, there's a couple of, I think I might have moved on to that. Yep, right, Now the IT's doing what it wants. Sorry, bear with me. Oh, sorry, bear with me, please. I've gone right to the end.
Is it not letting you go backwards? Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, it's not letting me go backwards, but I'm gonna start. Well, I was going to start from the beginning. I told you IT was not my strong point. Bear with me, everybody.
If you escape out of the PowerPoint. Yeah, now go to the slide you want to start on, wherever you got to. Is it that one?
Where was I?
And then go.
Can you still see my screen, everybody?
Yeah, we can see your screen, but if you keep it in this view.
Yeah, I'm just going to say the same. Yeah.
It's just the text just a little bit smaller. That's all. I can still read it, but if you're going to go through each point, I'll send these slides round to everybody at the end of the presentation, so you will get all of this information anyway. You can leave them like that, and if you're going to go through each one, I think that'll be fine.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll just flick over those next few screens that we covered, which was the information. You definitely won't be able to see that now, but you can see it later. So back to this slide where we left off. So the application goes to the Department of Work and Pensions panel, who will then approve the application or not. They could reject certain placements. It's something we were just talking about before the call, and it will be important for the employer to go back and double check all their information that they have met the eligibility criteria. So the onus will be on the employer to do that. You'll have to go back and figure out, why you've been rejected, which again perhaps isn't a great answer, that we don't know why, but actually we won't know why either, so you will have to recheck against the criteria. Then if you're approved, everything's all going well, we will enter into a contract with the Department of Work and Pensions on your behalf, and then we will have a contract with the employer, which will pretty much be the same as the one that we're signing up to. So as it says there, both of us know what's expected of each other. Once we've done that, then we go on to the job description part that we talked about earlier, and the job descriptions will also be provided to the job centres, which Duncan again is in charge of. And work coaches who work at the job centres will be the people that will be encouraging young people to apply for your vacancy. So you can't find the person yourself from any other means. They have to go through that central process, because they too will have to meet a set of criteria to come onto one of the programmes. So the young person will apply directly to you, but through the job centre. The job centre will be encouraging, I think I read it somewhere, sorry, bear with me, I think it was about 5 people per job, and you'll be able to sift through those candidates and interview the ones that you feel like any normal employment process, recruitment process. And then you would agree the start date with the work coach who will be working with them throughout the programme. There is a note there, if there's somebody, if nobody is suitable for your vacancy, then more applicants could be sent to you. So once the start date's been agreed, the placement's for 6 months, and you'll have to add that person onto your payroll to ensure they're paid through PAYE, and DWP will be able to check that information with HM Customs. You can offer more than 25 hours, but that would be at your own cost. So the government funded part is the 25 hours. I believe, and Duncan can help me probably later, you can offer more pay as well, but it's only the minimum wage that would be covered by government. And the last point there, you're not obliged to offer full-time employment. Again, that's something that's been discussed in the press, you know, whether it had to be a permanent role. But we really would like some of these roles to be permanent, but if it doesn't end up that way, then it's not a condition of, say, the funding. You wouldn't have to pay the funding back. So it's ideal, but not an obligation, not a contractual obligation. So the other part of the funding is the £1,500, which has also been called Wraparound Care, and that's basically to help fund another set of costs to do with employment. So we think this will be dependent on the type of role that you would be engaging the work placements on. It could be for PPE equipment or for particular uniforms or safety equipment that a young person might need. It could be for IT if it's a more office space or maybe a media job. But part of it as well is really about encouraging the employer to support the young person with help and training. So there's a couple of things in bullet point 1 there that have been noted, might be about CV writing or interview techniques. And obviously you might be thinking, but they've got the placement then, but it really is about their future employability. So we're helping these young people to find jobs for the future. So they'll gain some great experience with businesses doing that placement, but actually what's next for them. So there's a few examples there: networking, team working. There's probably, if you think about it, a whole host of different skills and support we can offer a young person. And that's paid at the start of the placement, so you'll be able to use that money to support this wraparound care during the time of the placement. There is probably, and we're not 100% sure of this, we're still waiting actually for the draft agreement ourselves from government, but it's likely that we will deliver some of that training, some basic, possibly the interview or the CV skills, or it could be some others. That part hasn't exactly been decided yet. And at the moment, we've had questions before about whether this is audited. So obviously people are concerned about receiving the £1,500 and then how that's actually showing how that's being spent on the young person. So obviously it's public money. We're suggesting that good records are kept to show how that money's helped the young person, whether that is with PPE or training or IT equipment, whatever it's spent on. I think travel's another criteria as well that it could be spent on. So especially in some of our rural locations that we've got, it may help towards travel costs. So the next part is covering the salary costs, the national insurance, and if there are any automatic enrolment pension contributions. I think we've talked about that part. And then, yeah, when the payments will be made still hasn't been 100% decided either. This is what I mean about finding some of the information as we go through. We've had a couple of suggestions, 2, 4 and 6 months, or 3 and 6 months. So I think the point really is there that it won't be upfront. So there will be a slight cash flow consideration for employers to make. So moving on back to the £1,500, we've talked about the record keeping, and yeah, one of the things that's really important in this is to make sure excuse me, that the young person, you know, is getting on and is being treated right by the employer, and that they're happy. So DWP will be taking that role and they'll be checking in with the person, the young person. And there have been all sorts of scenarios discussed about what happens if they're not getting on either side. So again, information will be worked through, but obviously this is not a scheme that we want anybody to be happy, or the government wants anybody to be unhappy about. It's got to work for both sides. So I'm sure there will be ways and processes to end that agreement if it's not working out, but hopefully most of them will. In terms of timing, although we're off to this rocky start with the information still coming in thick and fast, the programme does go on for quite a while. So applications are open until December 21. So that means the final placements would end in June 22, if obviously it started as late as the December. But we are hoping now that placements will start happening over November, December, and obviously through 2021. We've mentioned there about the job creation is the long-term goal, but it's also about the skills and experiences that they can have during the placement. So I've talked about us being a gateway organisation and creating this package of support, as well as anything that we might deliver ourselves. We will be helping employers to find if they've got a particular skill set that they need for that role. We'll put together a catalogue of support through both our own training schemes and other partners to almost, we're thinking maybe a pick and mix offer for how employers would want to spend that £1,500, because it will be different for everybody, be different for sectors. If someone's in, say, healthcare compared to manufacturing, what kind of support that young person would need. And the last one, I will hand over to questions then. So basically how you apply. We've had lots of applications already, but if you haven't applied, then you go through our website basically, and you can register your interest there, which will kickstart an automatic process where you'll start to fill out some of that information. And obviously there's our inquiries email box there. So if you've got anything you think of after today, then feel free to ask us any questions through our inquiries box too. That's me, Liv. If you can stop sharing the screen, please, and I can see everyone. That's great. Now, I haven't been able to look at the chat while I've been having my IT technical difficulties. So I'll just have a look and see if we've got any questions in there.
Sharon, it's Duncan. Can I just add a couple of things in there?
Of course you can. Yeah.
Afternoon, everybody. The fantastic presentation, by the way. I think it's got everything that we all knew about the scheme. It is changing near enough day by day. A couple of things I think we need to bear in mind. One is that the £1,500 is talked about a lot, and that's to enable you guys to take on a young person, and the £1,500 is spent depending on the individual and what their requirements are. So some individuals will require more help than others, might be slightly different. Sharon mentioned, one of the key ones we have, certainly across the Herefordshire region, which is transportation. Yeah, so we can be looking at how do we help somebody get around? Is that buying them a push bike or whatever we need to do? The other thing is obviously there's going to be some training required. It's not envisaged that the £1,500 is all spent on training. This is not a training exercise. Yeah, this is enabling somebody to work in your environment. I will say that you're going to get potentially a 16 to a 24-year-old as a person coming to see you. These are not the finished article. Yeah, at the 16-year-old end, they have very limited expertise in terms of the world of work. And at the other end, we may have graduates just coming out of university or college, but they'll have limited work experience. But obviously, they're really keen to get involved. So you're going to get a rough diamond, yeah, which you're going to then hone and change and mold them into something that can actually move on into the world of work. We ran a scheme very similar to this about 8 years ago with Future Jobs Fund. Looking at the screen, you're all way too young to remember that, but anyway, there we generated about 130, 140 opportunities across the country, and more than 50% of those people that participated went into work straight from their opportunity, either with the company they were working for or a company in the same sector, or they went into further education or into an apprenticeship, because they found out that they were really enjoying what they were doing. We anticipate this will be the same. That we'll find people will get energized in terms of, I want to be an engineer, I want to work on the internet in IT, I want to do something. So we're hoping that's going to come out the back of that. The people you take on, you take them on under your normal terms and conditions. Everything applies, be that attendance management, disciplinary, health and safety. They are one of your employees and they have to comply with all of your procedures and terms and conditions. Sharon mentioned about if people aren't enjoying it on either side, you can terminate the contract at any point if both parties or one party is not getting out of it what they need to do. And then obviously we could then find another person for you to come in to help out. And the young person can find a different opportunity. So everything still applies, and you can terminate if we actually need to. If somebody does leave your opportunity part way through, one of the questions bound to come up, you don't have to repay the £1,500. You retain that because your setup costs were your setup costs, and therefore you don't have to repay. In terms of the payment stream, bit of an update. It has changed again, I think, Sharon. They're now talking that after possibly the first 3 months, then it'll be paid monthly in arrears. That was as of, I think, Tuesday this week. Who knows what it's going to be next week, because it is a moving feast. Auditability, absolutely. We are aware nationally that some people will be looking at this as a money-making scheme. We already have our fraud and compliance teams working in the background with us to ensure that it is as safe and secure as it can be. From our point of view, we need to make sure that we safeguard the young people going into an opportunity, and that people are going onto that work placement for the right reasons, for the right person, to enable them to be the best they can. So yes, we are going to be auditing at some point in time. Not that that will be a problem for any of you on this call, because I know everything will be fantastic. Sorry, Sharon, I was just covering while you were...
No, that's great. Really helpful, Duncan. Thanks for clarifying those. And yeah, as you said, it is changing all the time. So should we go over to questions? I think the first one was, can we apply more than once? So I'm assuming we're talking about not more than one person. Obviously, the answer is yes. You can go up to 30 or over 30. You can do that yourselves. But more than once, you might mean more times than the 6 months. So you can do that too. You can have someone for 6 months, and then you can have someone for another 6 months. So potentially you could fit in a couple of 6-month placements, well, possibly if you're quick 3 over the lifetime of the project. Does that answer your question? If not,
yeah, sorry, it was me. Yeah, no, it doesn't quite. It's more the fact that so in terms of resourcing, if we wanted to I've just made an application for about 15 people. In 4 months, we might be in the position where actually this has worked really well. We want to take another 15 people on. Are we allowed to do that then, or would we have to wait till the whole 6 months is just...
No, you can apply for as many as you want. The thing, you don't need all of your opportunities day one, because this is running till December next year. You might find that, you've got 1 or 2 you start with, or you're 14. You could then go, this is fantastic, and take on another 10, 15, whatever, in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So there's nothing says you cannot take on more till you finish the first lot. It's the more opportunities we get, the more we really do like you.
You're a winner already then.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Robert, we applied at the beginning of October for 15 placements. Do you have an idea when we'll hear? I'm going to ask Tan to help me on that one. We don't know when we're going to hear, but could you let us know when we did the first application? I'm assuming that's through us, Robert.
Robert. Yep. We submitted on the 12th of October, the first one. What's your company name, Robert, if you don't mind saying, and I can see where you are.
Yeah, it's the Royal Life Saving Society.
Oh yes, I remember seeing you.
I think it takes about a month, doesn't it, Duncan, for what we're hearing?
It does. So from the point of registering the opportunity through currently to when it's been approved and then put onto our system so we can see it, is currently taking about a month. And the reason is that there is two series of checks going on. One is the organisation, and I know the Royal Life Preservation, etc., shouldn't be an issue. But again, they're also checking to make sure the job is the correct kind of job and it meets the eligibility criteria, health and safety, safeguarding. So we need to go through that process. So currently we're saying about a month. We're hoping, and obviously we are extremely busy at the moment because everybody wants to be part of the scheme, which is absolutely fantastic. So bear with us, please. We will get you up and running as quick as we can. The first opportunities are already showing on our systems, and they were some of the with the large companies we've been working with. We trialed it with Tesco's and Morrison's, and they're now starting to show. So they are starting to come through. Officers can actually see those opportunities coming through, and they are starting to work with their young people. But I'll come back to that in a bit.
And Robert, you were on the first submission, so it was on the 12th of October.
It's another couple of weeks maybe. Next one I think is for you, Duncan, because it's about what support the job coach will be able to offer.
Okay, so what we are doing in the background is obviously as soon as this scheme came up and running, and we knew as little as everybody else, and I'm not saying we know much more at this point in time. Then we started pulling together all our 18 to 24-year-olds, which is where we work. We have what are called youth employment coaches. So they started looking at those people and working out, were they job ready? And more importantly, were they Kickstart ready? So could we realistically put one of these people into one of the opportunities without doing damage to them and also to yourselves? So we've also engaged with National Career Service. So they're doing, what I think is probably one of the most important bits. They're talking to young people about work etiquette. And, these young people are going into an adult world to start doing an adult job working with adults. Yeah, they can't get mummy to send them a note and to say he's got a tummy ache and isn't coming in today. Yeah, they have to work as an adult. So they're working with the young people in terms of how do you work in the real world, ensuring they've got some skill set so they can actually talk and communicate. And if they're not in the right place, they won't get put forward. We will actually signpost them to other provision first to obviously address some of their issues. Then they will come back, and then we'll reassess, and then they may well come to you.
Thank you. From Katie, if we're paying through PAYE, they'll need, will they need an employment contract? So I think that's yes, with all the normal terms and conditions that you have. And would it be including the relevant end of the fixed term process? So I guess it would be a 6-month fixed term contract. And then if you did take them on permanently, that would be another contract. Robert, again, can the placements drop out and can you refill? I guess there might be some dropout rates. That's back to if that person, maybe they're just not getting on, maybe they're not the right person. So if they did drop off, yes, we would look to refill, or Duncan would look to refill with some other people through that interview process again.
Yep.
Are we eligible if we require the person to work from home? Yes, again, it is envisaged during this crisis that some of the young people will be working from home, and again that's where the wraparound care and support comes in, to make sure that they have enough provision to look after them, because again that might be another challenge for them, being at home and not actually in the workplace with people. So we definitely look to, or seek to, make sure they're being looked after enough and helped enough at home. If we terminate the contract, are we able to refill, or does the 6 months start again? Duncan, are you okay to answer that one?
Yeah. If it doesn't work out for whatever reason on either side, then yes, you can end that person's contract with you, and then we can then supply you with some more candidates for you to interview, and you can pick another one, and you can start again for another 6 months.
Yeah, so it would be a 6 month placement, wouldn't it? They wouldn't pick up the other person's job, say there was 2 months left, because that probably wouldn't be fair to them. So it's 6 months per person. Claire, do they have to be a member of the chamber? No, not to come through us. It's open to all businesses, so you can come through us either way. And are there set days they are employed, or that can be dictated by the employer? I'm going the employer, Duncan.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it will be part of that discussion you have with the young person. We're anticipating it's every day, but it comes down to how your business is operating at the time, and and they will fit in with your hours.
Thank you. If they go on to an apprentice scheme, can that be done during the Kickstart scheme or at the end?
Great question.
Good question, yeah.
Great question. We are anticipating that a good number of the young people will move into apprenticeships on the back of this, and they can do that at any time. We would like them to do an apprenticeship with you guys, because that would be really good, because you've been working with them for a period of time. There is no set thing that says you can't go into apprenticeship straight away. If a course is starting partway through their 6 months, why would you get them to miss that opportunity? You would put them onto the apprenticeship, and then if you wanted to, you could then pick up another person. So either or.
Thank you. And the 25 hours pay is covered by the government, yes, and the company can choose to pay over and above the minimum wage, yes, and over and above the minimum hours as well, but that won't be funded. So it's the 25 hours, right. And that's including the national insurance and pension contributions as well. Do you know how long it's taken for approval to be granted? So that's at least a month, and then we're still in the process of agreeing the job descriptions and the wraparound care plan. So we haven't got to one where we know how long that part of the process takes, but it's not a really speedy turnaround, as you're obviously aware from this conversation. So at least a month, probably more like 6 to 8 weeks. Do you consider application from charities? There's been lots of talk about this, hasn't there, Duncan and Tanya, about charities, also about sole traders. We need to add a company number onto the application, which I think most charities have got, but there might be some exceptions. So we would have to look at those individually, but in principle, absolutely yes. Yeah. Did you want to come in there, Tan? You've come off mute.
No, I was just in case you needed me to. I was getting ready.
Okay, have you got anything to add there? Or
well, yeah, there has been a lot of confusion, but and some messages have been saying that people who aren't, or companies that aren't registered, can't apply, but that isn't the case. I think it's more a process issue at the moment that they are working through, so it should be fine.
Definitely, if anyone's in one of those situations, feed it through to us and we can have a look at it. I've applied for some positions in Exeter. Will this be pass directly to the Exeter Jobs Centre?
I'll pick this one up. I don't think we like you anymore if you're putting jobs in Exeter and not in Hereford or Worcestershire. Gone off you already. Sorry?
It's only about 4.
It's 4 we could have had in Herefordshire. Can't believe it. Anyway, the way the system works is that you can put opportunities on for anywhere in the UK, and the way it operates is it goes on to universal credit once it's been approved. And from a work coach point of view, when they engage with, say, me, Duncan Campbell, and they go into the record and they click the Kickstart button, which is showing on the system, it will bring up all the opportunities available based on the young person's postcode or where they live. And it also does it within a 90-minute radius of that postcode. So if somebody in Hereford went on and there was an airband internet opportunity there, then actually it would be for an HR postcode and they'll be able to see it. Somebody in our Exeter office wouldn't see the Hereford one, they would see the Exeter one because it's an Exeter postcode. So it drives off the claimant's postcode in terms of what can actually be seen. But you can put them on anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you. And at the moment, last question, where can we check the status of our application? So is that through us, Thomas?
Yes. Sorry.
Sorry, what was that? I think I might have missed that.
Yes, sorry. We've applied directly through DWP because, as some of you might be aware, we're opening a community hub right now. So, we might have plenty of exciting, job opportunities for young people. But I think, I'm not certain because we didn't even got a confirmation email when applying. So I think we've applied over a month ago and we haven't heard anything since, even a simple confirmation email. So my question is there any place we can actually check what's going on with that?
The short answer is no, not currently. So basically what happens is when a company makes an application to join the scheme, there's about a month, 6 weeks delay while we do all the checks, security checks, financial checks, eligibility checks on the organisation. And then what you'll do is you will receive a reference number, which means you're now live on the system. And you can then start to load your opportunities, or your opportunities will then start to be looked at. It's a one-way feed at the moment, purely from a point of view of the amount of traffic we're getting and the number of applications we're getting. We can't handle sort of ongoing dialogue. So unfortunately, you're going to have to bear with us for a little bit, but we are working as quick as we can to get everybody up and running as quick as we can.
Thank you, Duncan. Okay, another question. Would someone in Hereford see jobs listed by us in Malvern and Worcester?
Good question. In theory, it would depend on whereabouts they were. So from a technical point of view, it's meant to look at 90 minutes from the postcode of the individual. Not quite sure what black magic we're doing to do that, because I don't know. I don't actually think we've actually got Google Maps built into the system, and how difficult it is to get around our counties. But let's not dwell on that too long. I can change the postcode I'm looking at when I'm talking to a customer. So, my postcode HR1, I can change it from HR1 to WR1, and it will show me again what opportunities are available in that particular part of the world. So I can move around. And that does become quite an interesting question if you tag it along with one that was asked earlier on about homeworking, because I can homework for any organisation anywhere in the country. So, we can move around and do whatever we need to do. But yes, somebody in Hereford can see jobs that are available, opportunities available in Malvern and Worcester. People in Malvern and Worcester can have a look. You can see Gloucester, Wales, Shropshire, depending on where we are.
Thank you. So I think I've covered all the questions at the moment in the chat, everyone. I'm conscious we've got about 10 to 15 minutes left. So basically, if anyone wants to come off mute and ask another question or have an open discussion about any points, then more than happy to do so. Anyone feeling brave?
I actually have a question, if you wouldn't mind me asking, because we're not really that, let's say, aware about the need in the county at the moment. So how would you say, how many potential beneficiaries are there to be reached out to in Worcester and Herefordshire? As in, like, because you see, what we would love to do right now is provide a steady source for these young people to, you know, grab the good labor practices, etc., etc. But the question is, should we all prepare to, you know, grab dozens of them, or will it just be singular cases? Because, you know, the worst case scenario, you can prepare and apply for 30 places, and then the job center will keep dripping you like single individuals every month. So do we have at least a rough estimate about what can we expect?
I think in the terms of the numbers of 16 to 24-year-olds across Herefordshire, Worcestershire, I haven't got a precise figure, but you're probably looking at somewhere around 5,000 individuals, potentially. In terms of job opportunities, the last count I saw for, again, Hereford, Worcestershire was around probably about a similar number and growing. So there are lots of individuals we need to help. And luckily, there are lots of great organisations who want to help, which is brilliant.
So a follow-up question: what happens if we actually register, you know, that we're happy to train 20 people, and then we receive only 5 individuals that we employ? Do we get like all of the tranches as supposed? Are we supposed to, you know, create the workplaces and keep them open? What would happen if we don't have the amount of people assumed?
You get paid on the number of individuals that take up an opportunity. So if there are, if you take on 5, if 5 people take up an opportunity, you get paid 5 times. You wouldn't get paid for every single person you might want to train.
Okay, thank you, Duncan.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think you might have gone.
Anybody else? How about a thumbs up or any kinds of signal? Have you got enough information from today that will help you making a decision about this kind of thing, the scheme? A few thumbs up. Well, Duncan, I hope you have got enough information. Oh, okay, lots of thumbs up. So yeah, unless there's any other questions, or sorry, just a couple in the chat now. I hand out of the slides.
Just about the slides. As soon as this finishes and the recording's downloaded, I will send everybody the slides, the link to the register now part on the Chamber website, and a link to the employment survey that Sharon mentioned at the beginning as well.
That would be great. If anybody's happy to fill that in, I'd be super grateful. Payback for the webinar, hopefully, that you've all thumbs up that was useful.